So 6:30, jumpstart your IRA 401k. This is one of my favorites. I think it's most fun. It's going to show us how to build up your IRAs fast, what other people have done, strategies and deals for different stages of life. One thing I want you to know is there isn't one size fits all here because everybody's in different situations. So let me go down here. All right, just our quick disclaimer, we don't provide any investment advice. We're not attorneys. Everything here is educational. Don't believe any of it, except, do due diligence on everything. I say that with everything. Even though I trust myself, there's no reason for you guys to. We've been in business for 20 years, and we do have a due diligence page on us if it'll make you faster on our website. We want to work with you. We want to work with your professionals. And we don't endorse any products or sell any products. So with that, let's quickly move to the other one. This is on all of ours. We'll quickly go through who I am. You've seen it a couple of times. I'm the co-founder of Camaplan. It's 20 years old this year. We're pretty proud of that. I am also a real estate investor, and I love self-directed IRAs, and that's how I got into this business. I was launching rockets at Kennedy Space Center prior to that, and I own rental property in multiple states. This is the summer series where we've been in the overall process. In the first month, we talked about the basics of self-direction, asset types, checkbook IRAs, tax-free, tax-deferred accounts, business and personal accounts, health accounts, educational accounts, etc., asset classes and prohibited transactions. The second webinar was on UBIT, UDFI, what it is, when it appears, when you have to pay for it, what penalties are. We talked about how plans can borrow money, but there may be UBIT or UDFI included in there. And also, if your IRA buys a business or 401k buys a business, there's a good chance it's going to be taxed if it's an operating business. Today, we're going to go over some of the advanced strategies that we touched on in the previous classes over the time, and we're going to talk about different structures that are going on. And then on our fourth session, I'll touch this in the end. We're going to go over exit strategies and asset protection with IRAs, which is another one of my favorites. So here's our agenda. Who and where am I in life? One size doesn't fit all. People are going to be talking about, I want profit now. Other people are going to say, I want to save it. We're going to go over the 20 ways to invest with real estate with minimal cash, because that's one of the most asked questions. We're going to go over the advanced strategies and structures that have rapidly grown other people's IRAs and 401ks. Some of it was luck, some of it was out there doing business, and some of it was actually calculated and figured out ahead of time. And we're going to give examples of these that people have done. We're going to talk about notes and transactions that can jump up your IRA. One of the things that I have to say is, again, too much money or more for later. We're going to touch on that. Backdoor Roths, because these IRAs, according to Elizabeth Warren, were for the less fortunate people and not the wealthy. And then we're going to have a Q&A session when we're there with us, right? So think about this. And this is my problem. Give more information with less detail, or less information with more detail. And that's what I'm forced with every presentation. I try to give more information with less detail, because people can follow up either with us on our website or with their professionals, and get more of the details on how it works. And I don't know if everybody's like that, but because of that, that's why National RIA asked us to put on a question and answer session so we can go right down to the actual details. And I have put more details in this presentation, so I'm not going to be able to cover everything that's on every piece of the agenda. So let's get into this situation here, and I call it the stages of life. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but if you're a teenager or college kid, basically you got no sense, no money, no savings. There are some exceptions to that, but you got a lot of time and energy, and you may or may not have a job. Right? You graduate, you get an apartment, you get a job, you pay your school debt off. You're making, minimal income. You don't have any experience. Your income tax is low. Your tax rate is low. Your age is low. But all those income, tax rate, and age all play into where these sessions are. A little while later, you get a house, you get married or not, you have kids, you've got a 401k at work and other benefits. You're making some fair income. You may even have some savings coming in, depending on your personal situation. And then the next stage is the kids get gone, you're empty nesters, you get your house paid down, you still have your 401k, you have less deductions because you're paying less interest, and your real estate, your less depreciation is there. And then you get to be retired if you are going to retire. Some people never retire. You have a savings account, your house is paid off maybe, and you're using your IRA, Social Security, 401k, HSA to pay for all your expenses. And what we're going to talk about a little bit of this is mixing up some of these stages of life. Maybe a retired grandparent is working with a college kid or a teenager, or an empty nester is working with their son or daughter, helping them meet the demands of life, etc. So we'll talk about that. But for right now, think about where you are, and when we go through this presentation, keep remembering where you are, but then I'll bring up where other people may be and how it might make sense to work with them. So where are you? No money, no experience, but you got a lot of time. Or maybe you're at the other end. You're an empty nester, you're working hard, you have your house paid down, you're making significant income with no time. Maybe that's a good combination to put those two people together. Somebody that has time to work and help you with deploying your money in a tax-free manner. Not enough money, right? This is one of the biggest things that I hear people say. Contributions are too small. It'll take forever for me to buy a house, right? Property's not affordable today, supposedly. I don't have money in my IRA. My real estate is my retirement. I'm hearing that. And then the next question I have is, can I put my real estate in my IRA? The answer is, if you already own it, no, that's a prohibited transaction. But if you had bought that real estate 30 years earlier, it would be in your IRA and everything would be tax-free or tax deferred when you pull it out. Obviously, I'm biased towards tax-free. So we'll go to the next slide here. How can I profit now? That's what a lot of people say, right? So you'll do more deals if you have more money. How many people know that they can use their money in their IRA to buy a piece of property, right? Think about who you are. No IRA, no money, but you have time available. What if you're a bird dog or you're wholesaling? We'll talk about that a little bit later. To somebody that has an IRA, has real estate experience, but has no time. So think about putting that in there. You don't have to have an IRA. You just have to know that people can use their self-directed IRAs to buy real estate. The next one I like is create your own private financing. That'll be more deals, right? If you don't have to worry about cash coming in, how do you find the deals? A lot easier. And how fast can you close if you know you have the money there? So build that, right? Borrow on a house to house. You can have people sitting there ready when you buy a house and put a mortgage strictly on that house. Or you can create a debt fund. Some people are going to be buying multiple houses and say, hey, I'm going to just have my debt fund, which you're a part of, and I'm going to pay you an interest rate, and you're going to have this many houses with mortgages on it through the debt fund. Some people think that's less risky because you're spreading the risk over multiple houses. The other one is if you have the money, pay the interest and taxes, and then live like a king, right? Borrow that money, pay your interest, your taxes, and own that house, right? Or start your IRA, still have your own private financing source, but have those IRAs that are in that private financing source lend money to your IRAs and don't pay the taxes. That's one of the best ways to do it. Or you can do a combination of these things, right? Put some in your IRA and put some in, some to live on. And that's what a lot of people are doing now, because the IRS came out under the Biden administration and said, we're not going to audit many people under 400,000, but we're going to increase the audits on people that make over 400,000. So a lot of them now are making money in their IRAs or 401ks instead of making it on the outside and paying taxes. So just some ideas to think about in that area. Partnering with other people's money, right? We talked a little bit about that. Have your IRA partner with you or other people. Have your IRA partner with other IRAs. Right? Look at all the money that's available, $31 trillion for that. Another way you can profit now, right? Raising investment capital. Suppose you have a fund or a syndication. Now you can use other people's IRAs to invest in an apartment complex syndication. A lot of people want to own real estate, but again, don't have the time to find these deals and find these passive income producing assets. I hope this is making sense, and I hope people are getting good ideas for it. $32 trillion in retirement accounts. And for you guys that are realtors out there, why don't you calculate what the commission would be if you got all $32 trillion of that? Or what if you only got 10% of it, $3.2 trillion? If you taught people about self-direction and buying real estate, and you're a realtor and their IRAs went out there and bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses, you would get that commission right now. Now, your IRA may also go out there and buy a house. However, if you do, it's a prohibited transaction for you to take the commission on that. You can't make money off of your IRA, but all the other people can. So that's one of several ways you can make money now using IRAs. Whether you have an IRA or you don't have an IRA, you can make money off of some of these situations, right? Every gathering, so when I go to a RIA or I go to a subgroup or another session, there's generally, if there's 20 people there, there's millions of dollars in those venues when I send out a piece of paper and everybody writes down what they have on it. So when you're at a RIA event, the main meeting or one of the chapters, think about that. These people you're interfacing with and networking with are people that want to do things with their self-directed IRA or their other money, mostly in real estate. I guarantee you tonight that, the people that are listening, would love to borrow money at 12%. Guarantee it. And 12% of, how many, think about it right now from where you are, how many of you would lend your money at 12% at 75% loan to value on a piece of property? One of the things I used to do was lend money on properties that I wanted. I was hoping they would default and I could foreclose on them because I thought it was a good deal. Right? That's one of the reasons I don't like Zoom as good as I do face-to-face. So think about making sure you go to your monthly or weekly RIA meetings if you're one of these people that want to lend money or borrow money. I think those are good situations. And it's an instant, it's an instant network that you build at these meetings, right? Another way you can profit now, right? Teach people about self-directed plans and then help them invest their money, help them find these other people that want to borrow it, or where they can partner on a house that somebody needs money for. There's a lot of those deals out there, and I'm going to cover some of those when I go further on here, right?
Hey, Carl. Tim says he would definitely lend 12% ROI with the loan to value of 75%. It's a good deal. He's also asking why you stopped lending. Is there any reason in specific?
Well, I'm getting older and I'm getting tireder, but no, I haven't. I mean, I do lend every now and then still, but I'm trying to slow down a little bit. I've got 8 grandkids, another one on the way. I like to fish, and I've worked hard for my whole life. So no, and a lot of our clients love the lending, and I shouldn't say I completely stopped. I just am more, I'm more cautious. I usually lend on properties I really want to take, like a point lot on the water. And then I hope that people don't pay, but I haven't been lucky enough to foreclose on anybody yet. And at least in the last 10 years. But overall, if you do this, right, realtors get commissions, a deal coordinator can make some money, taking from both sides. The IRA makes a return or ends up owning a property. So there's lots of ways to make profit now. And I don't want people to lose sight of it. I hope I covered that good enough in this first part of the session. And I'm going to touch on more of it here in the back, right? People always say, well, who are these untapped resources, right? CD holders, what are they getting today? 5% on a CD. Now, those rates are going down, supposedly, listening to the Fed here in the next couple of months. There's 10,000 baby boomers that are retiring every single day. You know what that does? That frees up their 401k. And a lot of them want to take that money out of their accounts and put them in IRAs, and they want to diversify it. And they like diversifying into real estate, right? Unemployed people, there's been talk of more layoffs that are out there, right? Unemployed people, their 401ks free up. So instead of eating into the corn, we had one unemployed laid off person take their 401k, lend the money, and then was making a few grand a month, and they were living off of that while they were looking for another job. So, and you can go through, go to your RIAs. There's network groups there that people have, and a lot of them are quiet. I was at a presentation in New York a couple of months ago, and I went out to dinner with a group of people, and I was sitting right across the table from a billionaire. I never knew it until 3 days later when I saw him, and I saw a write-up on him after he had done a presentation. Even when he did his presentation, I didn't know it. So there's people out there scared the stock market's at the highest it's ever been. They know it's got a higher probability of going down, and they want to, not lose that money when it goes down, but they don't know where to put it. So just an idea of where these people are if you're looking for them. 20 ways your IRA can fund a real estate investment. If you see this QR code over here, this is one of those things where I could go through these 20 things, and I'm going to go through some of them. But if you hit that QR code with your phone, you can download these 20 ways and then study it up. If you have questions on it, call the office. Almost anybody can answer them for you. We have a very trained and qualified staff. But the other one is write them down, and when we do our Q&A, I'll be glad to answer any of these types of questions. But overall for them, you know, you can borrow the money, which we talked about. You can lend it. You can co-invest on a joint venture, or you can join in a syndication or invest in a fund or even wholesale contract. And if you don't know what a lot of these terms are, your RIA can help you with that. And if your RIA president, he can tell you who to go to, or he can tell you when they're going to talk about that in their main meeting or in one of their subgroups. So I love this. This was our 20 ways. So we'll have the Camo logo on it. Plans can borrow money. We talked about this in the UBIT presentation. Using non-recourse loans. It's got a lot of good benefits to it. Go back to the second session on UBIT. You'll have more details on it here. This was the bank guidelines, but guess what? If your IRA is lending money, you become the mini bank. You can use all of these plus more, or you can use less of them, or you can invest in the mobile homes where the banks won't do it, or residences with 5+ acres. It really doesn't matter. But I just wanted to tell you that the plans can borrow money, and that's one way that or a lot of people do that to borrow the money. And I don't call that an advanced strategy. That's something everybody learns about from the time they get their first credit card, to their car loan, to their home loan, to their furniture loan, etc. So again, let's get into the advanced strategies that we're talking about. Subject to assignments and wholesale direct deals, joint ventures, lease and rent, different types of options, and either over contribute to the IRAs. Again, I'm going to hit some of these. If you have questions on the others, hit us up or hit your RIA for that information. And if they don't have it, call us and we'll do a webinar on any one of these. More detail. So a subject to. You pay the owner or the seller $2,000, $200 to $2,000 in a lot of cases, right? And then you leave the mortgage in their name. Then you pay the mortgage, you rent the place, you pay the mortgage with the rent, and this is a great job for buy and hold investors, right? And suppose you get a mortgage with a 3% rate on it. How much is that worth in today's market when rates are at, you know, between 6 and 7%? That's pretty nice. Now you have to make sure you pay that mortgage, because their credit is in your name. But if they're taking it, if they're giving it to you subject to, they were probably leaving anyway, and their credit was going to be bad. But in this case, you pay the mortgage in their name, and you leave it on the right on the tax rolls, etc., and you don't change it. The other question people have is, what if the bank has a due on sale clause? Well, in the past, I've never had a due on sale called in, and I've done this many times. And I don't know anybody that's had a due on sale for this. But we're in a situation today where that might be the case. As an example, rates are now 7%. If the banks could call in a 3% loan and you paid them, then they could lend that money back out at 7% and make more on their money. So that's the reason for it. But, you know, for $200 to $2,000, you can get into a property that could be 100,000. I've even seen one done at, you know, I think up around 400,000. You know, with a $4,000 pay the owner basically money to leave the house, and the mortgage in their name. So I hope that's clear. Assignments and wholesale, and people always think assign a house or wholesale a house or a piece of property. Donna Bauer has a real nice course on how to wholesale a note. And PPR has classes or explanations on that. So don't just think you have to assign a piece of property. You can also do that with the note. So let's go through a couple of examples here, right? Kate opened up a self-directed Roth IRA August 15th with $3,000 cash contribution. She found a property for $200,000. She's transferring over about $250,000 from Schwab that hasn't come to us yet. But she filled out a buy direction and told us to buy the house. And she would put $3,000 cash down on the property, right? And she's going to close in 180 days and signs the contract. She figured she'd have her money over by that amount of time. So if you look at her account value, she put the $3,000 in there. The account value is still $3,000, but there's zero cash. And she's got a contract in there with a down payment on it for $3,000. So we still book it on the books as $3,000 of account value. She found the buyer, I think it was the appraiser of the house, to buy the property for $250,000. So she was still with her account there. She filled out an asset sale form. The buyer sends a check to Camaplan for $53,000 to Kate's IRA. And the contract now is assigned to the new buyer. So it went out of Kate's name to the new buyer. So the $3,000 contract was assigned to the new buyer for $53,000. $3,000 down plus the $50,000 she made. So on the bottom rung, her cash now is $53,000. Her contribution was $3,000, and her earnings were $50,000. And this was done between August and November. So basically, she made $50,000 in a few months on $3,000 investment. So let's talk about that. Cash invested was $3,000. Profit was 50%, $50,000. So you divide 3,000 by 50, because that's how I do it as an engineer. And that turns out to be 1,600%. But the guy says you have to multiply that times 4. Some accountant told me this to get the true APR, and it's 6,000%. I don't really care about percentages, because what I know is I made $50,000, or in this case, Kate made $50,000. I think she was in the 35% bracket, but if she was in the 40% tax bracket and she didn't do this in an IRA, she would be paying $20,000 in taxes. If she was in the 30% bracket, she'd be paying $15,000 in taxes, but instead she has $50,000 more to invest the next day. And if she's in the 15% bracket, she saves $7,500. Is that not a good deal? I mean, these are the things that I really like. Can you go and tell somebody at a Christmas party you made 1,000% or 1,600% or 6,000%? You can't unless you're with other real estate investors that either target these deals, fall into them, etc. Kate didn't target this one. She was going to buy it and hold it, but she came up with $50,000 on it. And she said to me afterwards, she said, the one thing I regret about this is that my daughter is going to college. And if I had done this in my ESA or her ESA, educational savings account, I could use this $50,000 right now. Instead, I got to wait another 10 years till I'm 60 years old. So again, if you want the money now, think about what accounts you want to put them in. Are they in your health savings account or your educational savings account or your Roth account? If you're over 59, you have to look at all those types of situations. So I hope you people are seeing this and thinking it's pretty cool.
Hey, Carl, I'd like to pause for a second. We do have some questions and comments. If that's okay with you to take a pause for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Tim, this is a little bit overdue, but Tim did mention with your your lack of luck in foreclosing on properties with your lending, to try non-performing notes and lien too. He hears the odds of foreclosure are higher there. But we also do have another question. If you want to,
let me answer that one real quick.
okay.
I have a real good friend of mine that bought non-performing notes, and he's held the non-performing notes, and he has foreclosed on some of them as they've gone, but he made a lot more money on holding them and waiting for the value of the and renegotiating and waiting for the value of the properties to go back up. But yeah, and the other side of it is, as I said, I'm looking for particularly specific properties. Like I want a point lot, one with water on two sides of it and 300 or 400 feet of dock, as an example. And I don't find those a lot in non-performing notes, but I do have notices out there if people ever do find them for that. But thanks for the heads up, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
The next one, Will.
Yep, we have another question regarding subject twos from Eduardo. He says, how do you handle the insurance policy in a subject two so the bank does not realize the transfer of title has happened and hence accelerate the note?
I keep the same insurance on it. And even if I change the insurance, it's not that big of a deal. Right? I mean, if I'm paying the insurance, it usually doesn't cancel. I have to say in Florida, they cancel a lot, but people always want you to get insurance on it. Once you get insurance on it, then sometimes they'll say, well, the insured name isn't the same as the mortgage name isn't the same as this. And then we have to deal with the banks at that point in time. And there's several different ways to handle that. And I'll go over it because I have had issues with that, especially on one piece of property. And it's a very, very annoying. I said, you're getting paid for it. Are you insuring the person or are you insuring the property? What's going on here? And sometimes you have to get another insurance company. But, those insurance companies are insuring the property and they don't care really who owns it.
Thanks, Carl.
All righty. Any other ones or is that it?
We do have a comment from Sandra. I think there might be a slight typo on this slide. I think it should be 50,000 divided by 3 rather than 3 divided by 50,000. If that's correct, you'd know better than me.
I don't. It could be right. I'll have to check it and see for sure. But thanks for doing that, and I'll take a note to do it. I'm not going to go through it now because I don't want to take time away from everybody on here. But thanks a lot, Sandra.
We have two questions that just came in. Would you like to answer them?
Sure.
We have one question from Alejandro. You can do Kate's same scenario in a self-directed ESA and use that money immediately for school tuition? ?
Yes.
Great question,
That's
Alejandro.
what Kate wanted to do. She was mad she didn't do it, but she didn't know she was going to, she didn't know it was going to turn out that way.
All right, thanks. And one more question, and then we can carry on for a second.
Okay.
Jerry asks, can I still assign a contract with the new laws on this topic?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new laws out there, and you know, and a lot of them are state laws. But I've seen contracts get assigned. I saw one today actually get assigned, in Florida. So, I don't know, check with your attorney. Like I said, we're not attorneys here, but I haven't seen it change much. I'll be glad to discuss, specifics with you later if you want to get, shoot an email to me.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Carl.
Okay. All right. So let's just walk through this one kind of slow, right? Joe opens a self-directed IRA. This is somebody that has some money, right? With $100,000 rollover from a 401k. His account's worth $100,000 because there's cash in there. He finds a property for $76,000 at a sheriff's sale. He doesn't do anything, comes back to us, and he says, I want to buy this property at the sheriff's sale for $76,000. He puts the name Camera Plan for the benefit of Joe's IRA on the sheriff's form, and we give him a cashier's check for $76,000, and he gets the property. The Camera Plan receives the deed, right? Joe's IRA hires a property manager for maintenance and sends $4,000 for Joe's instruction to the manager to get some, minor rehab done. So his account is still worth $100,000, but it's only got $20,000 in cash now, and he's got $80,000 in his real estate because he paid 76, and he's putting $4,000 worth of work into it. Joe found a buyer for $135,000, right? His account is worth $100,000. He fills out the asset sale form at CAMA telling us to go ahead and sign the contract and return it to the title company. So at that point, we raise his account value because he's got a real estate contract now worth $135,000 signed and in there, and $20,000 cash. Camera Plan signs the deeds and other papers per Joe's direction. Title company closes and sends a check to Camera Plan for the benefit of Joe's IRA. At that point, it's still worth $155,000, right? But it's sitting in cash now, $155,000 cash. The rollover that he started with and the earnings of $55,000. That's a pretty good return in my book, right? Granted, he had the $100,000 there, but the cash invested is 76 plus 4 is 80,000. And we must have made the same mistake here. I'm not sure. 55,000 divided by 80,000 is 69%. And that's about what the return is. So I think that might be correct here. Right. If you make 55 is 69% of 80,000. If you do that, I guess he did it in 3 months. So again, it's times 4. So it's a 275% return. Since you did that in 1 quarter. But I'm not going to have 4 of these deals in 1 year, in my mind. So I just go with the 69%. But again, I'm not going to argue with anybody that says, hey, that isn't right. What am I going to look at? I'm going to look at $55,000. I can't spend percentages. But I know with that $55,000 in the 40% tax bracket, there's $22,000 in savings. Right? They get 30-something thousand, 33,000 to invest with. I get 55,000 to invest in. And if you go down to the 30% or the 15%, you see the differences here. So again, that was with somebody with 100,000, found a deal at the sheriff's sale and was able to offload it within a few months. He could have held it, right? Suppose he bought and held that and rented it out for the last 20 years. How much would that property be worth today? It seems like the property's doubled in the last 5 years, just alone. And we saw properties pretty much appreciate all the way from 2012 to 2020, and then double again from 2020 to 24. So you guys think about that. People always ask me, what's the best way to do this? I buy and hold because I'm lazy. I have a son that flips, and now he sees the merit in buying and holding. He says, well, I'm going to buy and hold just for a period of time. When prices go high, then I'm going to sell some of my stuff. So there's going back to where are you in the stages of your life? What do you want to do? What are you good at? And what do you like? And by the way, my mom and dad bought and hold their properties, so I probably learned it from them, and it might be in my DNA. So my kids and I talk about it all the time. So another advanced strategy, right? Because we were talking about UBIT before. So instead of taking a loan, people will restructure deals. Okay. So this IRA signs a contract for $200,000 and he puts $1,000 down. Right. So you have $1,000 in your IRA. Maybe you have 5, but you only put $1,000 down. Now you own this contract, right? You sell that contract, you sell 50% of the contract for $200,000 to marry a third party. Right? Now you put it up for sale or you do a little bit of rehab on it and the property sells for $300,000. The IRA owns 50% and the JV partner owns the other 50%, which he bought for $200,000. So Mary's a third party. The property sells for $300,000. Profit of $100K is split, right? Between who? The IRA who signed the contract and the JV partner. And how's the split? 50-50. The JV partner gets his $200 back, IRA gets his $1,000 back, and the $100 is good. 100,000 is split 50-50. The IRA makes 50,000, right, on 1,000, so that's 5,000%. And Mary, the JV partner, makes 50,000 on her 200,000 at 25%. And let me just ask you here. People say, well, didn't Mary get gypped? I don't know. How many people out there would make 25% on a deal and be happy about it? Right? How many JVs would get 50% of the deal? Maybe he should have asked for 60 or 75. Would the IRA still do it? Or could he have borrowed the money at 12%, right, and paid a borrower at 12% for that money? So the IRA is actually paying, double what a 12% interest loan is. But guess what? The IRA doesn't have to worry about UBIT. So think about structure, right? Structure trumps strategy all the time. So if you get that there's different ways to structure a deal, then you're more than halfway there. All right. So here's another one, right? The IRA goes out and leases a couple of apartments in a complex and then rents those apartments to an Airbnb outfitter and manager. The Airbnb rents the property from the IRA at whatever rate the IRA owner puts it at, and then he makes money on the arbitrage. And those have been working very well for the last 2 years. They've been for the last 6 months and this summer, it seems to be cutting back, and people are saying that a lot of people aren't traveling because of the inflation and the money available. But in the last 2 years after COVID, people took all the vacations, et cetera. I don't know what this is, but it's very little risk for the IRA. They're doing a long-term lease, they pay the rent, and they make the arbitrage. So how hard is that, and how much money do you need for that? So let's move on to the next one. I said I'd talk to you about notes. People always say, well, all I'm going to do is make the the interest on the note. And I think Tim said, what about buying discounted seconds, right? My buddy Dave did this. He bought discounted notes in 2009 and 10 for 5 and 10 cents on the dollar. He got out, he worked them, he sold them to IRAs for what he put into them, and has since become, made millions of dollars, and his company is one of the top 5,000 fastest growing companies, according to some magazines. Right. The other one people forget about are points, right? If you originate a loan, you can charge points. So if your IRA is going to be a bank, do it like a bank. Get the points on it, right? If you don't have a lot of money, you can go to somebody else that owns an IRA or doesn't own an IRA but owns notes, and you can buy part of that note. They might want to have a wedding for their daughter, or somebody might be sick in the hospital and they need money, so they're going to sell a part of their note, and they can sell the payments up front. They can break the note down into percentages and get paid every month. But again, like I said, Donna Bauer has a whole course on that, and we might bring her in one night for a webinar. You can always sell a note. We talked about wrapping it. Suppose you got that 3%, you got that 3% financing on that subject to, and now you go back and you resell that note and you hold the mortgage as the seller, making sure that the subject to loan gets closed. But guess what? You're now charging the new buyer 7%, say, so you're making 4% on the money that's in the bank's name still, and you're making 7% on the appreciated value of the property. Seller financing, you can make participation agreements. I'm not going to go into every one of those situations at this point. Let me just look for one thing. I had a couple of notes I wanted here. All right, let's go to the next chart here. All right, too much money, right? What is too much money? Well, high net worth individuals making over 400,000 definitely think they're making too much money because they've been targeted by the IRS. The IRS says if you make 161,000 and you're single, you're a high earner. If you're married and you're making 230K, you're a high earner. And by the way, you can't have deductible contributions at that point, but you can make a non-deductible contribution to your traditional IRA and then turn around and convert that to a Roth. And if you don't have any other traditional IRAs, doing that conversion costs you nothing, and it's like putting money directly into the Roth, or close to. The other one is 401k Roth money, or tax-free money, has no income limitations. So you may not be able to contribute to a Roth directly, but your 401k Roth you can, right? And it's easy to convert to a Roth IRA once you have it in a Roth 401k. Suppose you're already paying the max tax rate close to 40%, and you're making more and more money on that. Now, instead of starting another business, put that business in a Roth IRA. What's that going to do for you? It's going to lower your income tax because you're not making that money and your Roth IRA is, so that's going to go back to your Roth IRA and not count and putting you in the over 400,000 category. So just consider, if you're at the max tax rate, instead of adding more to your bank account every month, add more to your Roth IRA. And if you know who Peter Thiel is, he made a big stink, and Elizabeth Warren, the senator, was mad at him because he had $1 billion in there. And I think I have a slide on it coming up, but he was one of them that did that. Right. The other way is early access. You can get money out right now out of an IRA if you do what they call a 72T distribution. So if you want the profit now, we can show you how to get it out, most likely penalty free out of your IRA. And then this last one here is pay your trusted friends, your parents, your aunt, a friend for early access. Maybe you help them do their IRA and their 401k, and they make you the beneficiary of it. But if they're in a Roth IRA and they take money out and they're already over 59 and a half years and had a Roth IRA for 5 years, they can take some money out and gift it to you. And neither of you pay tax on it at that point. So just some ideas here. I don't think other people teach you this. But I get to see a lot of accountants and attorneys and clients that do a lot of cool stuff. So let's go to the next one. Get the money sooner. Why wait until people die? Right. And then you inherit the money. If you're a grandparent, think about giving people money while you're alive and you can see them enjoy it, because after they inherit it, you're not seeing much of it. So that's been a philosophy that's changed since they got rid of the stretched IRA. I'm starting to do that with my kids. Again, right, golden oldies helping now, and we talked about the SEPs, the ESAs, and the HSAs to get the money out now. Hope this helps some of the people, right? Again, now I'm kind of showing you different ways to do this, right? How many accounts and why, right? So I have one Roth IRA that I have a building into it, or I could have one Roth IRA that I had 2 buildings into it, and my cash and notes. And I could put, my kids in there and divide it, by the number of kids. Each one of them gets, 4 kids gets 25%, 3 kids get 33%, 2 gets 50%. That's all good, but there's liability involved in some of that. So each building I buy in an IRA, I put it in its own Roth IRA. And before I had all the kids in there 25%, but now what I've done is I've switched my Roth IRAs up, and I've given each one of the kids an IRA, and now I'm asking them to help me invest money in these investments. And if they help me invest that money, and they make the money and they want some of it, because I'm over 59 and a half, I'll take a distribution and give it to them, right? I can give away $19,000 gift tax free, no tax to them every year. And I can give it to their kid. I can give 19 to their kids and to their wife or whoever else I want. So if they help me make $100,000, I can easily give them, close to 50 without paying any taxes. And my one son, I can give 122 because his family's got 60, and I can, use my wife's contribution to that. So it's just a little different way of structuring it, right? Do I have more IRAs? Yes. But if one kid helps me make 100 and I give him money, then that's what his account is worth. If the other kid helps me make money and doesn't want any of it, then that's what his account's gonna be worth when I die and when he inherits it. And the third Roth I do for liability situation. I put things in here that doesn't have much liability, right? Cash and notes. If I do foreclose on a note, then I would move it out into another IRA, and because it would become a property. So I hope you guys find this stuff cool. I thought it was great, and it was a big help to me, and it's what I came up with after the stretch IRA went away.
Hey, Carl, we do have some questions regarding the previous slides. I answered one as best as I could, but as best I could, but I think maybe you could elaborate on it a little bit more.
Which slide?
One slide in when you were referencing Rob's rollover for business startups. If you could elaborate on what those are a little bit, and then Larry also wants to know the one slide that says that you can start a business in your Roth IRA. Is there any way you could elaborate on that as well?
What time is it?
It
It's
is
28. I'll tell you what, I'll do that to hold those, and I'll do those either at the end, so I can get everybody out of here relatively close to the hour, if you don't mind, and if not, you can call the office and we'll get an answer for it.
absolutely.
Okay. Rob's are, yeah, and we talk about that. All right, yeah, sounds good. Let me get to this. Tax-free money now. We talked about the ESAs and the HSAs, et cetera. I'm not gonna waste any more time on that. I talked about doing the beneficiaries and having a single beneficiary per each Roth IRA, and then a contingency. This is just Peter Thiel's $5 billion Roth IRA. Only the size of the news is there. You can read about Peter Thiel and how he got it and how he put the business in there. But you know, there's others that are there, and we'll talk about that. These are the types of accounts that we were talking about. We covered this in the first session. You can go back and refresh yourself with that. This one here is the deal that National RIA worked out with us. We're given, you know, $50 off on opening a new account. What most people like out of this whole deal is that there's no annual fees unless you have an asset other than cash, right? So if you have cash, like some of our competitors will charge you an annual fee based on the cash. Get your account open, get it ready to do a deal, because you never know when the deal is going to show up for you. And we're not going to charge you anything but the $25 when you open up the account. So we'll do the transfer, the rollover, or take your contribution, but get enough money in there so you can do something with it when you're ready. The other thing they like is you can have a free consultation with myself or my sister Maggie, who are the founders of Camera Plan. Those two things people said are the most invaluable that they have. It takes worry out of getting charged fees when you're not doing anything. And if you're doing something, you get to talk to one of the founders who will either give you some good answers, what other people have done, or hook you up with different professionals. So I hope that makes sense to people. Any questions? We'll go back to that in a minute. Next session is going to be exit strategies and asset protections, and 5 is the new one we're going to put on the end of it. And 1 and 2 we did already. I hope you like Jumpstart Your IRA. This is what we're going to cover in the exit and asset protection strategies. Again, you see, I'm giving you information, but not details. I hate that, and I'm sorry, but you guys can look at these things or circle them and ask me what I mean by them. Email or call to talk to an account executive if they can't answer your questions and you need them answered. Remember, you're a RIA member, and you can get bumped up all the way to me. Now, you know, you might have to wait a few hours or a day, but we take care of most of them pretty quick. That number there is for RIA members. It gets you a faster service, hopefully. We haven't had any complaints yet. And always check out our list of upcoming workshops and webinars. So what was it? So anybody that wants to go off can go off, but the three things that I think we're talking about was the checkbook, IRA, rollover business startups, and what was the third one?
Starting a business in your Roth IRA.
Okay, so simply, the checkbook IRA, basically you open up an LLC based on Swanson versus the IRS case. You should work with a attorney that's good with those. I would say your own attorney too, and you can reference Swanson versus the IRS. Your IRA pays for that LLC. Your IRA pays the attorney out of the LLC when it's formed, and the money is then transferred from us, who has the original thing, and the shares of the LLC are owned by Camaplan for the benefit of John's IRA. And then he picks a manager of that LLC, and that manager now has a checkbook with the LLC that's there, and that money basically transfers when the shares of the LLC transfers, which is right in the beginning. I hope that gets most of those questions answered. Then you have that checkbook control. Camaplan doesn't see anything until the end of the year when we get a fair market value. And what you might have in that checkbook LLC is you might own, a house, a condo, you might have a note and a bank account. You add the value of those four things up, you send that information in to us, and that's the fair market value of your IRA, which is basically the shares of the LLC. The second one is a rollover business startup. Most of those are done with 401ks. You roll that into a C Corp. The C Corp is now owned partially or totally by the 401k. That C Corp uses that money then to run the business. And at that point, you pay corporate taxes, which would bring you down from 37 to 40% down to 21% most likely. And those are used quite prevalently for people that are buying franchises or other businesses that are out there. There are a lot of details to it, and most of the time the guy doing it is running the business, but sometimes I've seen two 401ks buy into a C Corp and do that. And if we can't answer your questions or help you with it, we've got some other people that we trust and that are good with it. I hope that answered their questions, and we can follow up later. But what was the last one, Will? Which one did I miss?
Peter Thiel and running a business or starting a business in your Roth IRA.
Okay, so if you go back to the checkbook IRA, right, you can use that same scenario for that. Your IRA puts the money, buys the shares of the LLC, and then that LLC runs the business. Now, you can't get paid when an IRA owns your business, right? Whatever profits are made by that business will stay in that IRA. And that IRA may end up paying UBIT or UDFI like we were talking about. But in your own mind, you want to think about this. If I'm already paying 37% in my money, which Peter Thiel is, right, because he's a billionaire, why wouldn't I want some of that money going into a Roth IRA? Because at some point, if I get 5 billion in there, I can get rid of the business, stop the business. I now have $5 billion that I'm not going to pay any tax on, and I can go buy houses, I can put it in a CD, I can lend that money, I can do anything else I want to do with that 5 billion. Why would I stick it over here in my bank account, if I'm making $1 billion and then paying, 400 million in taxes? Just doesn't make sense. When you can put it in a Roth IRA, even if you're paying 400 million in taxes, now you have 600 million that you can put in tax-free investments. Does that make sense to people? And in the 401k, the rollover business startup, it can actually pay the corporate officers or the manager of the company, even if it's you, they can pay in a rollover business startup. So there are some differences in those. Any follow-ups to those, or did we do okay or not?
It looks like you must have answered the questions. No follow-ups yet.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how many people kicked off though,
We have only a couple.
Okay. All right, good. So let's get ready for next month's series on exits and strategies, exit and asset protection. We touched on some of it here tonight, but we'll go into more detail next week. And again, feel free to send CAMA questions and to engage at camaplan.com, or if you feel better going back to National RIA, they'll send us your questions as well.
Thank you, Tim. Jerry's asking, can you please answer Jerry's previous question? Let me see. I thought we answered them all. Jerry, are you referring to the required minimum distribution question? Because I've typed an answer for that, but Carl, if you want to answer it live, it might be a good question.
What's the question?
The question is, are there required minimum distributions withdrawals at some point? And if so, and the value is in real estate, are you forced to sell the real estate? I did type out an answer, but if you wanna answer it live, that'd be great as well.
That's a great question. Yeah, they're always, no matter what kind of IRA you have, whether it's in stocks or bonds or real estate or notes or mortgages. I always get this question. I've been in this business for 20 years and haven't had a problem yet. But the answer is at 73, if you're in a traditional IRA, you want to take an RMD. You're forced to take an RMD. If you've got a rental property, you're throwing in rent, and almost all the time that property is bringing in more rent than your RMD. If you have a note, you're taking more money in on that note to pay your RMDs during the year. I've never seen it where somebody hasn't had it. If they did have it, you could put a loan on your property, or you could sell a partial of your note, as we talked about here, or you could sell all of your note. So there's at least a dozen ways to get RMDs without selling the total property.
Isn't one way, and correct me if I'm wrong, can't you also take a percentage of the asset as a distribution itself?
Yes, you can take a percentage of the asset as a distribution to yourself. You're 100%. That's why I say I didn't get all of them on there, but there's definitely a lot of ways. What I tell people to do, if you're worried about that, start converting to a Roth, right? If you're going to turn 73, start thinking about it at 63 and convert 10% of that to a Roth, because you're going to pay taxes on it anyway when you're 73, and our taxes going to be are they going to be more or less in 10 years from now? Start converting 10% a year. So when you're 73, you've got a Roth, because Roths do not require or do not have required minimum distributions. So yeah, there's all kinds of strategies for that. And we should probably, when we talk about exiting the IRAs next week, we'll cover that, because that is part of it. And where are you based on that stage of life? Are you still working, making a lot of money? Or are you now 73 and you're not making much money? You're living off of your IRA or your 401k and Social Security. So you have to take a certain amount anyway, and you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. So you have to, one answer doesn't fit all. You have to look at your taxes, your cash flow, your age, and your health, and what you want your legacy to be. You got to kind of play all 5 of those things together, if that makes sense. I hope I answered your question, Jerry.
Let me see. We do have a question, 2 questions coming in. We'll start with the one that came in first. This might be covered in exit strategies, but maybe not. Will you provide, Sandra asks, will you provide additional examples of deals with under 59ers when they can take the profits now from the IRA? I'm over 59 and a half.
Read that. So she wants to know about how to take the money under 59 and a half.
That's a good question. Will you provide additional examples of deals with under 59ers where they can take the profits now from my IRA? I am over 59 and a half. Maybe she's referring to the gifts.
Yeah, I think I get what it is. So let's just say your son finds a deal, okay? And your IRA goes in and buys this property and rents it out and is making, I don't know, $50,000 a year on the rental income. It's going into your Roth IRA. You're 59 and a half or older, and you've had your Roth for 5 years. And he brought in 50,000 and he says, Mom, can I have 25,000, or Dad, can I have 25,000? I want to put a down payment on a new house that we're going to go live in. You're going to say, sure, I'm going to take out 25,000. Now he helped me make 50, right? So all I'm taking out is 25, and I'm going to take that out of my Roth. You're going to fill out your Roth withdrawal form. You're not going to pay any tax on that. And then you're going to give him $19,000 in a tax-free gift. And maybe your husband is going to give him 19, or if he gives him 19, he can give him 6,000 that you took out and as tax-free uniform gift per year. Or maybe you give 19 to him and 6,000 to the grandson or to the wife. If that makes sense to you.
Thanks, Carl. We'll see if there's a response to that.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was a him or a her, but I didn't want to be.
Yeah, Sandra says thank you. I think you answered her question.
And if she has other things, I like talking to people when they tell me what they're doing with their IRAs and how they're doing it and what their kids are doing, etc. Then it's a little easier to help you. Maybe he's got notes, maybe he's got real estate. So I like people to work with what they know and understand and feel good about and not nervous.
Absolutely. We do have another question in the meantime. Can a 67-year-old still start putting in an IRA account, or is it too late?
It's never too late until you die. Then you can't put it in anymore. But yes, 67, 75, 85, 95, 115, as long as you have earned income, you can contribute to an IRA. And you can move an existing IRA, some of it or all of it, to a self-directed IRA if you like it. But it's never too late to start, and it's never too early to start either.
All right. I think the questions have wound down. Oh, what's this? 12,000 in an IRA. What's the most efficient tactic to implement with this sum? Lending or notes?
What's the most efficient? I don't know. I've seen people What's been the best? I've seen people originate notes with their IRA and then take the points off of them and sell them to others. I think that one brings in money, but again, you have to have a pipeline of people that want to buy notes, which some people do. So what they would do is they would originate the note in the name of their IRA. They would charge the points for it and then sell the note to somebody else's IRA or somebody else personally. Again, I don't mind holding notes. I like putting notes in, having high floors on the note and having it adjust to the LIBOR's gone now, but to another indexed fund. And discounted notes, buying discounted notes is great. I would say look at payments for partner relief, PPR. I would say Eddie Speed has a note school, and Donna Bauer. I mean, she gets along with women better than anybody I know. You know, she sells like 7 times more to women than she does to guys. And she talks about all different ways to get money using notes. I mean, some of it goes in IRAs and some of it goes, you know, right out to them too. It depends on where you are with it. But there's courses out there, and for, you know, just for me talking off the top of my head, you know, you got to have the knowledge, and I would say get the education on what you want to do. There's so many things to do, so many ways to peel back the onion, that you have to take what works for you, again, based on your age, what you're looking for, and where you want to go.
And what's this is another question. What's Donna's niche
Notes.
compared to Speed and the other educators you mentioned?
Donna, Eddie Speed actually will sell notes with you. Donna will help you do it. She gives you a class, teaches you about buying partials. She teaches you how to calculate the fair value of it, how much money you want. Eddie Speed does that too. Their prices are different. And they change based on you know what's happening in the industry. I mean, let's face it, IRAs right now are hot. Everybody wants to get on the IRA train because banks have slowed up on lending to people. Equity lines are now up at 9 to 10%. And if people are paying 12% or want to borrow money at 12%, it just doesn't make sense for them to risk their house or their property on an equity line to make 2%. That 2% isn't going to really help you that much. But as rates go down, things will change, right? If you can buy a 3% note, you know, that's going to be at a big discount today. There's going to be a lot of supposedly commercial buildings that can't make the new interest rates. They bought them when the interest rates were 3%, and now they have to pay 9%, and people are moving out of them. So those people will pay extra to keep them because the banks aren't renewing them, because the people are moving out of the bank, out of the commercial real estate. But you can go to your RIA and start talking to people there and asking them, because there's people that have real estate, commercial and residential in those, industrial and warehouse. Warehouse spaces is, you know, off the charts. It's still going up. You know, Walmart and Amazon's buying everything that's available or leasing it.
Thanks, Carl. I think that's everything.
All right, that's good. Let's wrap it up. And let's I appreciate everybody coming. I look forward to you, and mark your calendars, for the next event. I should be able to tell you the date. But actually, I don't know it right now. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the night, and we'll be wrapping up at this point.
Thanks, everyone. I hope to hear you guys calling in the office soon. I'd love to speak with some of you.
Yeah. Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Carl.